Hello, friends. Welcome to the show. This episode is brought to you by real estate agent Cole Humphreys. Today, we get to speak with Nate Gutierrez. Nate is the current GM of the Texas Airhogs baseball team. Today, we get to talk about all the fun stuff surrounding baseball, including designated hitter. Enjoy. 2, 1. Nate Dogg, what's up, man?
What's up, baby?
Appreciate you coming out. Nate Gutierrez is the current GM of the Grand Prairie Airhogs, and has become a good friend of mine. And we wanted to invite him out to talk a little bit about minor league, or I guess equivalent to minor league, but independent league baseball.
Yeah, it's considered a minor league.
Okay.
So I think anything that's not MLB, they consider a minor league. I think they even kind of group in like Japanese professional league. They call them minor leagues, if you will.
Well, I'm glad you even said Japanese. That makes me think of the Asian, and of course the Airhogs, and their Chinese influences.
Yeah.
You want to touch on that a little bit?
For sure. So the full backstory is kind of Donnie Nelson, a few years back, took over ownership of the Airhogs. He's currently the Mavericks GM. He has had a deep history in China and really just overseas in general. That's kind of been his angle from an NBA GM perspective, is finding international talent. And a lot of times you can find better players internationally that are just being overlooked by other teams from lack of resources. And I think a main factor is when you talk about Donnie is he's been there for 18 years now. So he's had time to really build out an international scouting group. Yeah. And they've become really proficient at it. Whereas other teams kind of turn over GMs a lot. Sure. When you think about international staff, those people also get turned over when regime changes happen.
Well, it's interesting because you got almost an endless amount of players over here. You forget. You don't need to go overseas.
In some cases.
Which makes you
until
ignore
you
that.
find a Luka Doncic.
Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki.
Right, until you find them, right? Like, you don't think you need them until you're like, man. And a lot of times is you can get them either later in the draft or simply through free agency because they're unknown. They're simply unknowns. Yeah. And even Luka, the fact that we got him at 3 was on the basis of unknowingness. The other GMs weren't sold, if you will.
I love how the Mavericks just went from 20 years of Dirk, and then they just drafted Luka right over. As if it was a plan all along. We only draft foreign players.
And I think there's even the Greek Freak story. I'm not sure if you've heard that.
Giannis?
Yeah, that Donnie wanted Giannis.
Really?
And it was kind of yeah, that's good. I would say Mark Cuban says that's his biggest regret because Donnie, obviously being an international presence, always wants international guys. So this guy's like, I got this 7-footer from Greece, he can really play.
He's a stud, man.
And Mark Cuban was like, okay, another one of those international guys that you want me to draft, et cetera, et cetera. We traded down a few spots at the time to draft Shane Larkin to create cap space for DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah. That
was the DeAndre Jordan locked up in his house that offseason. So we traded back a few picks, missed on Giannis. Yeah. Mark Cuban was like, obviously, I blew that one. But to get where we are now, it's kind of the same mold. Donnie's like, hey, I got this kid from Slovenia.
I was never comfortable about chasing DeAndre. That was always kind of weird. I know we wanted the big guy, but...
Yeah, Texas kid, too.
Something. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's from Houston. So he went to A&M. There's that kind of connection.
A&M, okay.
There's that kind of connection. He wanted to come back home.
That made sense.
And that's why I thought, maybe. If we can get him motivated. He was good at the time when we first wanted him. Not when we got him the second time.
The post game, in my opinion, seems like it's almost disappeared altogether in the NBA. Is there really like a post up player?
I think talking about chasing free agents in general is always a interesting game, unless you're a big market team, Lakers, Knicks.
So are the Airhogs chasing free agents, or do y'all have specific folks for that? How much involvement do you have with that?
A lot.
Yeah,
I'll have a lot, and so I'll kind of bring this whole conversation full circle real quick. In that Donnie Nelson brought over the first Chinese NBA player.
Yeah.
So Wang Zhuzhu came to the Mavericks, and just because of the way their country's set up, sport is centralized by the government. There's one lady who kind of oversees all of Chinese sport.
Wow.
So naturally, Donnie bringing over Wang Zhuzhu, first player, that was a big deal for them. Good PR. We're going to the NBA. they have an affinity a bit for Donnie, I think, and that he kind of took that chance on the first player.
He's just created that relationship too, right?
100%,
I mean,
and continue to develop it. And now I think basketball is becoming more global. China's becoming a big market for the NBA.
Yeah.
And Donnie was even kind of ahead of that curve. He was kind of an early mover to build those relationships.
Well, how many people live in China, man? Like, it's just by simple numbers.
They were saying that Wuhan. We'll get back to that, but Wuhan has 14 million people.
Wow.
To think about, and that's not even a big city. We don't even consider that a big city, right? And it has 14 million people, so 3 times our population as well. Yeah. So it's a huge
DFW.
Country. The country, their country has 3 times our population.
Oh yeah. The whole
thing, which is pretty crazy.
Billion.
So getting back to that, Sharon and Donnie have kind of maintained this relationship. At one point, China decided that they wanted to continue to invest in sports. They're kind of middle class is growing now. They're taking that next step into investing in sports. Baseball had not been a top sport for them. They kind of always played basketball. Soccer became a prevalent sport for them.
I got to be careful about interrupting you because I don't want to get off track, but Japan was a little bit better at baseball.
Great baseball country. No, not a little. Great.
Right. But then it's so easy from our country to throw Asia under one blanket.
100%. And
Japan's good. China, maybe not so much.
Korea's good. Another Asian country. Taiwan is good. Another Asian country. So, yeah, it's easy to group them in. I think the difference between those countries and China is when you think about World War II, China was on the Axis side. Yeah. And Japan was on the Allies side. And those Axis countries were against any Western influences, right?
Oh, wow.
So when you think about baseball, very much a Western influence. An American-created game. Wow. We define ourselves in that game itself. So they consider that Western influence. They didn't play baseball in the country for 40 years, I think. A good large gap of 40 years. So then they kind of reintroduced it, I think, like in the 90s. Like not even too long ago, they reintroduced baseball heavily back into it. But they've had a hard time kind of maintaining a professional league and developing good players. So they kind of, and now that the Olympics are in Tokyo coming up, baseball is actually what they call a fringe Olympic sport. So basically, as a host country,
So we're 2020, is it?
2028, yeah. Or this year is the Olympics, yeah. A couple months.
In Tokyo.
Yeah.
Okay.
If coronavirus behaves.
Right.
But basically, when you're a host country, you're told you have to host these certain events. 100-meter dash. There's a list of those, and then there's some that are you get to take one in, one out, depending on baseball isn't played every year. It's dependent on the host country.
Is that because America wins all the time?
We haven't won, actually. We've only won once. Japan's beat us twice.
Japan's beat America twice. Yeah. And that's one thing we don't have our professionals. Not that it'd be that. I'm not saying we're going to be that much better, but yeah, we don't send our best.
We're in baseball season when the Olympics go on too, so that's another factor. But so basically, baseball is one of those fringe that can go in or out. So the countries that are good at baseball bring it back, and the countries that aren't good take it out. Yeah. So in this year, Japan's very good. It's going to be in. In 4 years, it's France. They're not good. It's going to be out. And then 2028 is the North America, the LA, the United States one. So it'll be back.
Of course, it'll be back.
So Japan, with Japan hosting, being in China's backyard, they wanted to get better fast. Yeah. And so they started drumming up ideas about how they could get better. Yeah. So they kind of settled on the idea of sending their national team and collection of best players to the States to train, get better. And the ultimate goal 4 years ago was this year, 2020. But they had to decide how do they want to do that. Yeah. They can't necessarily just create a team and a league, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So they kind of talked with MILB, which is the affiliated system associated with the major league teams, about, hey, how can we partner? Yeah. And they were like, well, you can split 2 here, 2 there. You could put 2 in Greensboro, North Carolina. You could put 2 in Frisco. You could put 2 in
players.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were going to kind of break them up in that realm. They kind of went back on that idea because that defeats the purpose of growing the national team. They're not playing together as a team, right?
Together. Huh.
So then the next option they kind of looked at was IMG Academy, which is in Florida, which has become basically a factory for athletes. A lot of, if you see sometimes high school athletes go to what they call prep schools after their senior year. Sure. They go to that 1 year prep
Yeah.
So that's what IMG is basically. They have $100 million of worth of facilities.
Wow.
I mean, it's state of the art, full training, technology built out to the nines.
Yeah.
They consider training there for a couple of years
How are they funded?
by the government.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
The
IMG.
IMGs.
Private investors.
Wow.
And I don't know the detail. Mostly
Sure.
private investors, but I think they're getting money from other places. But they considered IMG to go train there for, a couple of years. They had the technology, they had all the things. The problem was they had no league to play in. There was nobody to play, right? I mean, they could have played, I guess, some of the local high schools.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the junior colleges, but it wasn't going to be on a set schedule. There wasn't going to be a collection of games preset that they knew were going to play, that they're preparing for. It was probably just going to be pop up here, pop up there. So the third option kind of came, I think, in discussions with Donnie. Donnie was like, hey, I own a minor league team in DFW area here in Grand Prairie, and we'll let them bring in their own coach. You can hold 13 of our 23 roster spots. So that's where the deal started 4 years ago.
So Cali 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like the last 2 years they've been here.
They've been here for the last two, but this whole project started 4 years ago.
So Donnie owned the team the previous 2 years, or was that he in the process of doing that?
I think Donnie's on the team now. This will be Donnie's fourth season owning the team. So 3 seasons ago is when he purchased it, and I think it was kind of right at the same time. It was kind of all in one.
Yeah,
it took a while for it to actually the pieces to come together too.
It's impressive how these big deals, you don't just put them together.
Years.
It's a lot of. Are the Olympics going to affect your roster this year?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And coronavirus, the combination of the two, right? So.
I mean, so if it's too big of an issue, and are they considering not playing, type deal, or
is who considered
coronavirus going to affect having the Olympics
so interestingly
period?
enough, the guys that left here from Grand Prairie last September went and played in a Olympic qualifier in October. I think it was in Hong Kong or Taiwan, one of those, and they got their highest finish ever. So it kind of proved that the program did what it wanted. And now they have a qualifying tournament in April for the final. Like, there's 3 teams that are in. Only 4 teams actually make the Olympic because of time restraints.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams are kind of in the Olympic system bracket playing, but like in Tokyo, it's only going to be, I think, 4 or 6 teams that actually kind of qualify. And the States is yet to qualify. The Dominican Republic is yet to qualify. And I read yesterday that the Dominican's going to send some good players to make sure that they qualify.
Yeah. They usually is it the Baseball Classic or
World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, that's usually real competitive.
Yeah, that's a great event. But basically, so they have this now because they qualified. So they did so well in the October tournament. They have to play in this April qualifier. I would say 5% chance, if I'm being honest, that they actually make into those final 16. There's still good teams that need to qualify. So they were going to play in April, and we don't start until mid-May. So that allowed a little time period.
Okay.
They usually don't come until like May 2nd or 3rd anyways.
Yeah.
So 2 days ago, it was announced that qualifying tournament is now being pushed back until June because of the coronavirus.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So now we have another obstacle to kind of overcome, and I'm really not sure how it's going to work out yet. I think it's kind of fluid, but then on top of that, timing and scheduling.
Are you going to be calling me up to come in and pitch a couple of games?
You're laughing, Cole.
Yeah.
You're laughing. I mean, yeah. So we're kind of playing plan A and plan B right now. I think we're kind of planning. Hey, we hope they get a chance to come back and do the thing, but realistically, I mean, it's 80 days away now. So,
yeah, it's hard to.
So we kind of got to start looking at other options, and we're actually hosting the league-wide tryout.
Yeah. League-wide.
League-wide, yeah. So the first one that the league is actually hosting.
I mean, is St. Paul still in?
St. Paul's still in.
So
league,
that's still a league-wide tryout, even though St. Paul's 1,000 miles away.
So they're all coming in, yeah.
Okay.
It's a league requirement for every team to send a representative in.
And this is an open tryout.
$200.
Whoever
sees, $200, you can try out.
Whoever sees the advertisement.
Yeah, a little bit. I think how it realistically happens is we're in pretty good contact, the GMs and our baseball operations people, with agents. A lot of agents who because I think if you think about where our players typically come from, aside from a international deal, they come from guys that were in minor league systems that have either gotten hurt, or just kind of fizzled out for whatever. Sometimes behavioral, sometimes can't pass a drug test. In reality, for whatever reason, they fizzled out of that minor league system, but they still want to play. The goal is still there, and there's opportunities for them to get picked back up. If a guy is really like behavioral issues is the issue, not as much on field. Those guys can typically hold an agent. Even after getting released, because there's that potential till.
Well, an agent, that's part of his job, is work that.
100%.
Earn some money.
And I get emails from agents every single day.
Really?
Every single day about, I got this lefty that throws 99. I'm like, dude, if you got a lefty throwing 99, either one, you're not being a good agent because he should be an affiliated ball, or two, he ain't a lefty who throws 99.
Right. Good point. Well, so I remember when I was very involved with the Airhogs at one point, and I had some real sharp young men, but 2 or 3 of them would live in a host home.
For sure, we still do that.
Okay, good. And then you had a guy.
You need one?
Right. I need a place to stay.
Oh, you need a host family.
But then there was a guy who had a signing contract the year before. For $1 million, and he got hurt and wasn't in the league anymore, and he was up there. So he's driving a H2 and owns a home.
Funny story. We it's like one of the first questions we ask when we talk to a guy, like, can you, because we're only by league rule allowed to provide housing for 5 players. Paid. Otherwise, like a St. Paul, who makes money hand over fist, could get the best players on the basis of, I'll put you in XYZ place.
Wow.
I'll pay you this much. So it's a competitive balance thing.
5 though?
5.
Still same rule though. They can only do 5.
Yeah, they can only. So that's the kind of the competitive balance of it, is that they can, but unlimited host families.
Sure.
So the team can actually pay though for an apartment, and we do.
Yeah.
So for certain situations, a guy may not want to live with a host family, or for whatever reason, we don't want them to stay with a host family. So we're allowed to put 5 up. And so one of the first questions we ask guys is, can you find local housing? So if you're a guy from Dallas and you're apples to apples with a guy from California, and we're gonna have to pay with this guy from California, reality is, buddy from Dallas probably gonna get on the team. So that's kind of a factor, right? And one of our players
throws 95 instead of 96. Sorry.
Tyler Matzik was a first rounder, I think 11th overall, maybe. Went ahead of Mike Trout, which is, I would never talk to him about that personally, but it's pretty interesting to think about.
Crazy.
He made it all the way to the bigs, actually, with the Rockies. Very good. Lefty, legitimately 97, 98. First round. I mean, got drafted high, made it all the way through. And just kind of, he goes through these mental lapses where he can't find it. So, like, when he's on, like, probably one of the best you've ever seen.
Gold.
But when he loses it in spurts. And so, twice in a row now, he got cut from the Rockies, that whole good. He came to our place, pitched for 2 months, got picked back up, went to spring training, got cut, came pitch for us for 2 months, got picked back up, and now he's with the Braves system. He'll probably start the year in AAA for the Braves. But the funny story is I was like, hey man, housing, it's gonna be a thing. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. He's like, my signing bonus barely even touched it, dude. I can afford a couple $1,000 a month in rent. It'll be all right.
Golly.
So, he was a high draft pick, saved his money.
And the comparison is AA ball, right?
I would say right about it. I would say because and I only say that because most of the guys that get signed from our league go to AA.
After. They don't go to single A.
Not sometimes, typically, depending on age and depending on, like we had a guy last year, Josh Prince, was our shortstop. We picked him up from the Diamondbacks organization, and kind of a career minor leaguer, but a very, very good ball player. I think he's had 1 at bat in the major leagues, interestingly enough.
Single A is probably younger guys, right?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, just like welcome in, break.
So there's
loose.
it's crazy to think about. I don't know if you've heard, but the MLB is considering cutting some minor league teams from the bottom. But reality is, each organization has about 8 teams. So they're talking rookie ball, short season A ball, long season A ball, AA, AAA, and the majors. So there's a lot of processes, and that's typically because they're trying to stall in a lot of reasons. In MLB, you can draft a guy from high school.
Yeah.
So you can go as an 18-year-old. He might not be ready by 23, right?
Right.
So I put you on my rookie ball team. Well, in 1 year later, I got to draft a whole other group of guys. So now you have to keep going up.
Yeah.
So some people don't necessarily move at the same rate. Some people fly through a system to the bigs. Some people, they have to start. Like, I see the potential, but we're not ready to move them up yet. So they've created all these teams essentially to kind of drag guys through the process.
Are the best players, it seems like, don't go to college? Isn't that kind of interesting how that works?
Well, and the other thing is, too,
And I'm saying on average. Obviously, there's guys that come out of college that
100%. The thing is, it's kind of like football in that if you sign a D1 deal, you got to go 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not like the basketball where you can go one and done, touch college and out. In baseball, it's 3 years. So it's a bigger commitment, especially when someone's offering you even small amounts of money for a signing bonus.
Yep.
$100,000 or go play 3 years in college. Like, $100,000, that's a good start.
Yeah.
And you're going to still be playing and getting paid. And a lot of them of the mindset, let me get in and just see if I can hack it.
So the cutting of a few of the A teams ultimately benefits independent league, wouldn't
100%.
it? Yeah,
100%. Because, like I said, those guys that they've been able to drag along now will no longer get dragged. They're going to get cut, and we're going to get to essentially drag them out for these teams.
For those listening, St. Paul is sold out like every game. So
7,000 fans a night. Yeah.
7,000 fans a night.
Bill Murray owns them.
Bill Murray?
Bill Murray's
wow.
And then, yeah, you hear great stories about Bill Murray up there. He actually works the game sometimes, like in wigs, and he takes tickets. Like he does the normal.
How long has he done that? Do you know?
Oh man,
as long as you can.
Yeah.
Now, are they doing something special, or is that location thing?
I mean, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors. I mean, location is the main factor for them. I was just on the phone with the GM from St. Paul 2 days ago, and it was snowing, right?
Yeah.
So they have long, harsh winters.
Yeah.
And we start in mid-May, right when the weather turns 70 and perfect.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big mover for them. And we have other other northern teams. We have Winnipeg, who's kind of the same way.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, the first 3 weeks of the season, St. Paul, Winnipeg, Sioux City, all those north teams all come to play in the south.
Yeah.
Because they have snow on their field.
Everything's still falling out up there.
They still have snow on their field in some cases. Fargo, North Dakota, that's who we start off with this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think...
Hey, we're here. What's your first game?
Yeah, May 19th, 7:05. It's a Tuesday.
That's my birthday, and that's common. Every year it's May 18th or May 19th. I always remember.
Right around it. Yeah, right around it. May 18th, May 19th. So May 19th is a Tuesday this year, which is pretty interesting. We typically start on a Thursday, but...
So we've got what? This is 11th year?
This will be the 11th season, yeah.
11th season, man.
Yeah.
I forget how long we've had it. And
it's been a good run for the team.
I want to say in the championship twice and won once or more. Is that
exactly right?
Yeah,
right? We actually...
In the 10-year period, we've been in the championship at least twice and won once.
You ready for an interesting stat of the day?
Yeah.
St. Paul just won the championship last year.
Yeah.
They are now tied with the Texas Airhogs in American Association championships. We both now have one. So to your point, they sell out every night. They do a lot of things from a fan perspective. Obviously, like I said, the weather helps. Bill Murray helps.
Yeah.
The consistency, they've done it well for so long.
Right. So if
they were the first.
Nowitzki came out to every Airhog game and was actively selling it, we'd be doing better, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Nothing against Dirk for not. I'm saying.
Yeah,
you have an actor like Bill
I think
Murray.
they were the very first independent team ever. Like, and that was at a time when there wasn't really independent teams. Like, he just created a team. Yeah. The guy who founded the Saints created a team and was just challenging other minor league teams.
Jeez. What about when I was more involved? Fort Worth Cats were involved, and they just went out. They're not around.
The Cats are coming back though.
They are really.
The Cats are coming back next year, and actually.
Next year.
Next year, yeah.
So that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Good deal, man.
That's the thing.
Because their history alone.
The Cats will be back. They're gonna have some hurdles to overcome, I think, with LaGrave. LaGrave has got beat up pretty good.
I imagine. It's been years, right?
It's been years, and the homeless have lived there since it closed down. So they have every single window in the place is broken out now.
Yeah.
They've had a few fires.
Yeah. Wow.
They've had a little fun out there at the LaGrave, but
some homeless parties going on.
But the Cats are coming back. I think they're hoping next year. I think at worst 2 years.
Yeah.
But they're in the process of coming back, and we're actually getting another team in Dallas at
Okay.
Rivershawn Park.
Rivershawn Park.
Rivershawn Park is right in downtown.
Fort Worth or Dallas?
Dallas.
Okay.
So
I barely leave Grand Prairie, and when I do, it's Fort Worth. You know.
yeah.
And
So
Rivershawn Park. I've heard of that. Obviously, where's that?
very
at?
popular park. It's downtown, like right downtown, like
Yeah.
right next to the American Airlines Center.
Okay.
So I mean that kind of gives you some perspective. It's a little old field. It's like the oldest field in Dallas.
No way.
I heard a pretty crazy story that it was a segregated park
Okay.
for
Wow.
it's been around like since the
Yeah.
late 1800s, I think.
Man, they can
Honus
so much
Wagner,
history around
Honus
that.
Wagner, the guy whose baseball cards sells for the most ever, was a Fort Worth Cat, and he's kind of played over
Okay.
at Rivershawn. So they used to kind of play in a league together before it was, and SMU, when they had a baseball program, played at Rivershawn as well. So there's a couple of connections that you may have linked it through. But basically, back to my segregation story was that the first time that they allowed blacks to go to the park was when Willie Mays came into town. So
Okay.
Willie Mays played there, and kind of
Jeez.
in an exhibition game, and I think they did 60,000 people. That's
Yeah.
what they were saying. 60,000 people. No, obviously, 58,000 of them probably couldn't even see the field.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say you're not.
But pretty crazy story. Lots of history.
So we got multiple teams coming in.
So yeah, and then we have a team in Cleburne in our
Yeah,
league.
I know about the Cleburne.
So Cleburne has a team. So that could be 4 teams in the Metroplex, which from a league perspective gives us a lot of staying power, one, but also a lot of the teams from the north don't exactly like coming down here. It's hot. It's far.
I agree, and you know, rivalries are created.
Yeah.
Simplicity in traveling,
Exactly.
cutting expenses.
And that was kind of their point is like we travel to Texas. Like when you think about when I'm coming from Fargo, North Dakota, that's a trek. So to come down here and be able to play 4 series as opposed to 1 or 2 at a time could really go a long way for them, I think.
Yeah.
And it's good for the league. Like it's our league is right up the middle of the U.S. We're all in the Central Time Zone.
What are you going to do with? So you're the GM of the team.
And the stadium, yeah.
Yeah, and the stadium. So you're not only running the team, you're running almost like an event center.
Exactly. I mean, you heard me. I was out there on the call.
That's why I brought it up.
We were
yeah.
talking about that was an El Salvadorian, like a guy from El Salvador who
Yeah.
wants to come play a soccer match
Okay.
at our stadium. So because it's all turf, because this great city of Grand Prairie turned it into turf, that allows us large flexibility and things. You know.
I can recall being a ball boy for women's lingerie football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did probably 5 or 10 games out there.
I mean, I hear more about the lingerie football league at Airhogs Stadium than
Than
any
anything
other
else.
event that's ever happened there.
I'll tell you one thing that was probably one of the most fun times I've ever had was 2 consecutive years, at least 2 consecutive years, they had fight night.
Yeah,
And
we're
then
actually
boxing.
we're in talks right now with a MMA guy,
Okay.
and I think that's kind of it. Like if I looked at my plate, for instance, right now, I mean, I'm looking at El Salvadorian soccer game, MMA fight night, Team USA softball's coming in April.
Okay. Wow, very cool.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. USA softball's coming in, and then obviously Airhogs kind of all in the next couple months. But the reality is it's a baseball stadium, but it's built on turf. It's just basically a big open field. I tell them
Yeah.
like, hey, don't look at the base pass, don't look at just a big open field to kind of. We've had some corporate parties out there where they just set up tons of bounce houses for kids. And
Yeah.
I'm open to a lot of ideas. It's a good space.
Well, and using it, and of course, it benefits the team and what they want to do.
100%.
You know, as far as getting players and.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thought, right? So we're hosting Team USA softball. They're also an Olympic year.
Oh, wow.
So kind of just in conversation with them, they raise money in their Olympic years to cover until the next Olympics.
Wow, yeah.
So Olympic years are huge for them, and they're actually on a 50-city tour. They're going around the whole country to play at these different stops against colleges and exhibition teams, and what I think that does from a team or Airhog standpoint is we're going to bring in people from all over the Metroplex.
Yeah.
Because they have that kind of name power, USA Softball. We're going to get people from Plano who typically go to Frisco Rough Riders games, or we're going to get people from Louisville that typically go to Frisco Rough Riders games to come to Grand Prairie, experience the stadium, come to spend your money here.
It is such a nice stadium.
Very nice
I mean,
stadium.
that's one of the most impressive things, and
It was ahead of its time.
I wish that it sold out more simply because of the stadium, the attributes that it has. It's set. Just got to get a few more folks out there.
Yeah, I think it was ahead of its time. I think in the building, realistically, the pool in the outfield, fully built out kids playground. I mean, that's one of the nicest playgrounds at a minor league stadium I've ever seen.
And there's nobody that says, "Oh, I didn't have fun."
Right.
I mean, everybody that goes has fun.
And it's a variety of factors.
Sure.
One being that as a minor league team, we don't have huge
$250,000 check every year.
A marketing budget, and so when you compare, it's fine if you're in Sioux City, Iowa, and you don't have a marketing budget because nobody else is spending marketing money either.
Right.
In our case, obviously, we have two professional teams, Rangers and Cowboys, within less than 15 miles. You got the two professional teams, Stars and Mavericks this way. Yep. We got Rough Riders out there. And then past just the sports realm, what I'm in is entertainment business, right?
Sure.
So now when you start factoring in all the entertainment venues, just here in Grand Prairie, Lone Star Park, Verizon Theater, Epic Waters now, the whole Epic Central.
Major competition going on.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot going on. You have to decide, what am I going to do with my disposable income? And we try to bring that family element, and we're looking to build it. I mean, we're trying to keep at it, and there's, like you said, there's the roots are there, the bones are there. For the stadium, looks nice, well ahead of its time. We're doing a good job putting on the fun part of it. We just got to keep at it.
Well, I hope the MMA thing works out, and like I said, that boxing deal. I mean, it was so energetic. Yeah. I was able to buy tickets right up close to the ring. I've never watched a fight that close. Yeah. There's probably 5 rows of people, but then the entire rest of the stadium was filled out. They had Corona night or Dos Equis night, so everybody was drinking Dos Equis, and it was just like, and I'm not telling you to do that, but that was effective for one reason or another. I want to say one of the promoters, the bigger promoters, got involved, and that helped out a lot.
We're always looking at all options on the table, because the reality is we play 50 home games, and we pay the stadium rent 365 days.
Yeah,
so that's 310 days to
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Very exciting. And I'm glad that as the GM leader of that group here in Grand Prairie, you stay involved in the community.
100%. I love this community.
You're involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I know you serve on, well, then you and I do the mentorship program at Adams Middle School. And let me tell you, man, that's one of the best things anybody can do. One, you and I aren't taking pictures and post them on the internet and say, hey, look at us helping kids.
Yeah.
Although I want to promote that. Yeah. I want to promote the helping of kids.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you and I and Tracy and those other guys go in there, work with the kids,
100%.
and go back to work.
Things. Like, one, my wife called me right after we left a couple weeks ago, and I just feel different when I leave there. I feel like, you know what I mean? I just feel, I don't feel satisfied, but I feel like there's so much potential and hope right there in those doors that we can kind of find ways to bring it out of them.
Those boys are still being molded.
100%.
They're not grown men.
And I think that's part of it. Like, you get back to, let's not do the pictures thing, but that's us. Like, the reality is past the pictures and all that. Yeah. We're looking at a mirror in some of those kids.
No doubt. And I love, Martin's gotten involved.
Yeah.
Tracy and Chris, they started this thing, and luckily they brought me in. Now they brought you, and then, Martin and I went there to Adams.
Right.
And so sometimes I don't feel like I have the best thing to say to these kids.
Except
that I realize, then I realize just about anything I say that's positive is a benefit to these kids. And I made an assumption that, these kids here, they're tired of hearing do better or you need to get better. But the reality of it is they don't hear.
They don't.
At least in a supportive manner anyway, right?
Or about the right things.
Right. And I've seen their eyes, I say the simplest thing, study for just give it 5 minutes. And they're like, man, their eyes that's a great idea.
How did you not think of that?
Right. Well,
but then you realize that
with the home life that they have, and I don't want to make assumptions for all of them. Some of them probably have What?
Yeah.
And I remember one of the kids got in a fight, and I think got in a fight with a girl, and Tracy goes, what if somebody got in a fight with your mom? It's like, man, see, why you getting in a fight with a girl? It's the stupidest thing. He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a really good thing that they started over there, and I think there was a need, and I'm glad that we've kind of had the opportunity to fill in even the small amounts that we have.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it. Try to get a group out there, not with their school, but as that group going to a game. I'm sure they'd love that.
Yeah,
sitting in a.
For sure.
We've talked about that a little bit.
Hopefully. And it's to the mold of like they see us only for an hour, in those spurts, and like they realize that we do good things in the community.
Yeah.
But they don't really know, right?
Nope.
They don't know what insurance sales is. They don't know what running a team means. But to see us in action could be a little motivation for them.
One of the problems with that is you don't start till May, and they're almost out of school.
That's the thing, yeah.
But I think we've been talking about trying to get a summer thing going. But anyway, I know you do the chamber stuff.
Yeah.
How's that going? Are you doing? So Andrew Fortune is the Chamber of Commerce
new
chairman, right?
Yep.
Are you involved in that board?
I'm not. So
okay.
Our old GM JT was going to be what Andrew is now.
JT was? Okay.
Yeah, so he was I've just kind of been around. I think that was to think about where I am now, but when I first started, I was just like a sales rep for the team.
Yeah.
Like just trying to get you guys to come out to the game, these local community people, and that's how I got involved. And for some regards, it was like I don't know anyone. I know this is where a lot of collection of people come.
Yeah.
And then when you start to meet the people, like you start to learn about Grand Prairie, and just in the 4 years that I've been here, the growth. There was no Epic Waters.
Right.
There was no Epic Central.
Well done.
Those were all ideas. You know what I mean?
When did you start with the team?
I started with the team 4 seasons ago. So
when Donnie came on, more or less,
very first
right?
year. Yeah. First year.
And JT was here?
JT was here until last season. He now does rugby in Houston.
And last season was your first as GM?
Yeah, and I took over in the middle. So this will be my first full season.
Middle of last season?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is my first full season.
So this is your first swing?
That's right.
Well, how's it going? I mean,
it's crazy, man.
You kind of.
It's crazy. It's like somebody was asking me the other day about, man, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a GM. Like, it's so cool that you do this, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, what do you think I was thinking? I also wanted to be a GM.
How old are you?
27.
27. Well, great experience. This will be great experience for anything
This
else.
is what I always like. This is what I always wanted to do when I was up 10 years old, 12 years old in the morning, 6 a.m. I really love this story.
Yeah.
6 a.m. watching SportsCenter in my notepad, writing down stats of players. Like, obsessive about sports.
Did you go to college?
I went to UTSA.
UTSA, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I went down.
They have a medical program.
San Antonio's a good medical city in general.
Maybe that's what.
I was studying sports management.
Really?
I was mindset. Like from the time I was 12 years old, I knew I was either gonna play, or I was gonna coach, or I was gonna be involved.
Well, then how did you get hooked up with the Airhogs?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. So I was down in San Antonio, graduated, kind of looking for my gig, and Donnie was like, "Hey, you can come out to. I got a team." We know each other through mutual connections.
Oh, so you knew Donnie.
Yeah, I knew Donnie ahead of time.
Good.
So he's like, I got a team, but you got to come work on commission only. I was like, oh. Ooh. I was like, tough sell. But at the same time, I was 22 years old. Had very few bills. I slept on my brother's couch for the first 6 months.
So you moved up here and
didn't have nothing to lose. I'm from here too, though. Like I went to Louisville.
Yeah,
I went to Louisville. So
the farmers, right?
Fighting farmers.
Yeah. Okay. Clarify that. Thank you.
That's right. Farmers sounds like we're lazy.
Yeah.
We're fighting.
Come on, man. What farmers do you know? Farmers are hard workers, man.
Hardest workers. That's what I'm saying. But fighting adds that element. But I came down here. Yeah, like this is what I knew I wanted to do. So like I started as a little sales rep, trying to push some tickets, push some deals, and then now obviously it's a new element of responsibilities.
Yeah.
I was just trying to push some tickets. Now I'm trying to figure out how many bats we need to order for the season.
Jeez.
Or are my players coming from China or not?
Yeah. How big? What kind of staff do you have over there? I mean, you got. So I know the season obviously
game day
racks
staff.
up,
Yeah.
But
full time we have 7.
Okay.
So a good amount. Yeah. We have a
coach, assistant coach included in that.
No.
So that's not.
So yeah, that's not even. I'm talking front office. It's gonna be me. I have an assistant GM. I have a head of sales, who's also the broadcaster, a little dual role.
Okay.
Then I have 2 regular just sales reps. One mostly working on USA softball right now, but they were like me. They were ticket pushers, deal pushers, and then we have a social media specialist, I believe is her title. She just handles social media, and then we have a community relations person, Kelsey, who you'll start seeing her around more. She kind of takes the mascot out. She does the table appearances,
nice.
And
very good.
She's really interested in that. So it's a good sized staff, and you kind of need it in some regards because you never know like what events might pop up. This USA softball thing, you can imagine, kind of take a toll on our staff from a planning perspective. We had to go find I still got to go pick it up from Houston, but temporary fence.
Bring it in.
Yeah, they don't play on the same size field. They play at different base links.
Oh wow.
They have huge marketing deals that can't be really, overrided. So we got to take down some sponsorship stuff.
Cover some.
So it's an undertaking.
Wow, but I'm sure decent rental fee or whatever. Get them in there, and
it's gonna be a great event. Like I said, a lot of it's the exposure. I think they can do 2,500 a night for 3 nights in a row.
Oh wow.
So I think
And as being pro Grand Prairie, I'm glad to have 2,500 people come to my city and see a good part of it, and then go to the local eateries maybe.
Yeah. And I think getting back to my point was that now I'm a little more busy, that I don't get to go to as much ribbon cuttings, and I don't get to be around the chamber as much. But in the time that I did, you grow an affinity for the people, for the city, for the buildings, for the new construction, and you're happy. Like I don't live here either, unfortunately. But
where you at?
I live in Addison.
Okay.
So I live in North Dallas. My wife works up there.
Are you doing? Is that 161 or how's that? I'm familiar.
So,
how do you get down?
Dallas North Tollway.
Okay.
To 635, to Loop 12, to 30.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a nice little drive. Took me like an hour 15 today with rain, but more or less, I just like grown an affinity for like the people, the growth, and you're happy for the residents who've lived here for so long, for the representatives that have been here for so long.
Yeah.
To see some of this new development, to see these new businesses come in and kind of get the recognition that I think Grand Prairie is kind of.
Well, as a Grand Prairie guy, I definitely appreciate that, and it is cool seeing the growth. And it's ever increasing. It's slowly growing, and I mean, we added that stadium 11 years ago, 12 years ago, but the last couple of years is when you've really seen the actual population just like
skyrocketing. I was reading because obviously I'm kind of looking for a home right now, vaguely, and you start looking at best places to live for young people, for different, start looking at the demographics that match yourself.
Yeah.
And Grand Prairie pops up. It's affordable. It's kind of trending younger now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going for it.
You'll get you'll get the high-end apartment for, 100 to 150 at least cheaper than where you'd have it like in Dallas or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You're building the same build, but the rent per square foot's just a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But they're doing it next to the amenities that you'd want to have. So for now, I mean, it's
and it's not. And I don't mean like, obviously 161 is going to get built out, and it's going to start to slow down a little. But there's so much land now.
Well, generally speaking, the idea is they're just starting,
right.
And then like a lot of stuff that's been approved hasn't even broken ground yet for building wise. So they're rolling with that.
Yeah, it's good to see. Like it's good. It's a tourism based city. It's good to kind of start building in the elements that are going to continue to bring people from other cities to give Grand Prairie that recognition.
I think a lot of cities are that way. It's just that Grand Prairie's never received the
love for it, right?
Yeah. And now it has. So what about like actual game strategy and like baseball affinity? Now, of course, you got your coach that pretty much runs that whole part of it, right? But as far as you always talk about the designated hitter or you know what I mean, like
you want to get me going on baseball conversations?
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Like, 6-hour podcast.
Yeah, but there, I know there's running a team and being a manager, but you got to love baseball, right? I mean, this is not. You just said 6-hour podcast, right?
Yeah, I could sit here and talk about baseball until your wife calls you and tells you to come home.
Nice.
So
about when the Rangers were winning and about to went to the World Series, I started keeping score for the first time ever.
Wow.
And I freaking love it.
On just
just for
kind
fun.
of a whim. Like
Yeah,
you're just
yeah. Well, I think either saw somebody do it. I thought, well, I think I could do that. And then I started doing it, and then next thing you know, I'm completely engaged in the game. I know
what the counts are without even having to look.
Yeah, and then I was like, "Oh, this guy flew out to the right last time." And then when the team does a shift, you're like, "Oh, I see why they did the shift. This is his third at bat, and he's gone to the right side every time."
Yeah, and I won't get too carried away, but I'll say baseball, I think more than most sports because of the amount of games. There's 162 games. They play every day.
Yeah.
Like in our season, we play 100 games in 111 days. So you got to imagine that's playing every day, basically. And
Yeah.
the MLB is equivalently bad.
Yeah.
Because of that, there's such a large collection of data. And you hear, like, baseball's turning heavy towards data. So is all sports, but baseball particularly was kind of leading that movement based on the fact that there's just such a large sum that when you now plug it into these computers and it starts aggregating.
I did a daily fantasy.
Yeah.
For about 2 or 3 years, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
But I got to a point I looked up where I was spending hours at a time every day looking for
you're looking for that loophole.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of guys are doing in that, like, you've seen Moneyball. Have you seen Moneyball?
Yeah.
That's what they did. They were kind of the first to start looking at the numbers a little different and start to try to create a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Like, at the end of the day, they're getting paid millions, they're blah, blah, blah. It's about those guys' ego and legacy.
Yeah, the daily fantasy guy on the site that I was using, the guy that had the most winnings, he had the most points per win or whatever it was, didn't even like baseball, didn't watch baseball.
Yeah.
He just ran the numbers, dude.
Well, and there's kind of a weird balance right now going on in baseball. What they call the traditional baseball guy, and what they call the numbers guy. And a lot of these new younger GMs, as younger and younger GMs come in, they're basing it more on the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers say this, and then there's still the old guard on the coaching side, though.
What was the Clint Eastwood movie where he was the
scout?
Oh,
Trouble with the Curve.
Trouble. Yeah.
Trouble with the Curve is Clint Eastwood.
Okay. He's like, did you hear that?
Yeah, and he couldn't see, right? And he was kind of just going on the basis, and there's a lot of that. It's like, hey, your exit velocity is not that good. I don't think you're going to be a great hitter. And then the guy next to me is only watching on his eye test. He said, no, dude, look at that guy's swing. That thing is going to project out well in 4 or 5 years. So this is always trying to find a balance.
I know this is I know the answer before I say this, but like if I'm a hitter in the major leagues and a team shifts, I'm not a knucklehead that can't turn the ball the other way.
Sure.
Like I made it to this level not because
Sure.
I would have been thinned out if all I can do is pull a ball, right? So
why are we at this point?
Why can't the guy?
It's hilarious that you say this.
When he shifts, why can't he? And I know it's not the easiest thing.
The last conversation I had before I came here to this was literally about this.
Really?
In that Joey Gallo, he's the perfect example.
Yeah.
Joey Gallo, he has light tower power, as we call it.
Yeah.
And they move everybody to the right side. 4 outfielders. He could literally push the ball to the left side for probably a double. And then what? And that's my point. And then what? The result you want him to do, the reason you pay him the money is to hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
So that I need you to take that swing every time. Sorry. The reality is that swing also, the negatives of that swing hit the ball in certain areas.
Yeah.
And they've now placed the guys in those areas because they have hit charts.
Yeah.
They hit literally, and they just plug it into a computer and it just says, this is where he hits it. This is where he hits it.
Yeah.
If you start changing your swing. So let's say he bunts. Now Joey Gallo's on first base. Well, now the guy behind him is not as good a hitter as Joey Gallo.
So Joey's just sitting there.
So Joey's just going to sit there on
first. And the game was boring.
Boring, and we didn't win because our best player didn't get to do what he does best.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, man.
There's a philosophy to, and they don't shift everyone, right? Because like if you can really hit the ball the other way, like with consistency, they don't shift you. They're only shifting a certain set of guys.
Yeah.
Usually.
And that's the interesting thing is he's proven that he can't hit the ball the other way.
I think he could
consistently.
I think he could.
Yeah.
I think he could. He would lose the attributes that are good for his game.
So at that point, they're selling his swing to MLB subscribers, and I don't mean subscribers as general people who like the Major League Baseball. I don't mean literally MLB package, but like they're selling the home run swing.
Sure.
As opposed to trying to win a baseball game, or are you saying?
I'm saying the strategy's changed.
Yeah.
I think the strategy's changed because the last 3 years in a row in the MLB, they've set the most home runs in a season, year after year, right?
Yeah, it keeps increasing.
So what that's based on is that pitchers are also getting better.
Yeah.
So pitchers are all throwing 98 miles an hour now. Where back in the day, only one guy was throwing. Now they're all throwing 98.
Wow.
So hitters are realizing it's a lot harder to consistently get hits off of the pitchers. So if I hit a single, well, now I got to get 3 more hits to score
The team has to get 3 more hits.
where I can score them. Or the team, you're right. The team has to get 3 more hits. Whereas if I take one swing, I can create a run.
So the games start. That's interesting. So the game's transforming to home run.
Or strikeout. It's what we call the 3 true outcomes, which is walk, strikeout, or home run. And those are the big 3 because the strikeouts are also up. Every year that the home runs have gone up, they set the record. They also set the strikeouts.
So that then makes way for the guy the
Joey Gallo.
I was gonna say Altuve, who can just slap the ball around all day long and get on base. Don't mean
now it's a 2-run homer though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It depends on who's behind him, right?
Yeah, and like
man.
the steal is no longer valuable in the game because if I put you on second, okay, you're on first, I steal second. The old adage was, you steal second, you hit a single, he scores.
Yeah.
Well, we don't hit singles anymore. They don't hit singles in the MLB. Like Joey Gallo to this day has more home runs than he has singles.
What's the single stat? Has that been decreasing?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. There's Joey Gallo, like I told you, has more home runs than he has singles.
Yeah.
For his career.
Is that the result of gaining all the knowledge on? I mean, all the statistics.
I think so.
I mean,
because it got harder to hit, right? So because now they had all these numbers about where you were going to hit the ball. He hits the ball here on this. They were doing it by like, if we throw him a changeup in this count, he hits it to this location 20%. He hits it to this location 42%.
Yeah.
He hits it to this location 31%. So then they start making adjustments.
Second at bat, third at bat.
And so they start making adjustments around you, and then all of a sudden they've negated your skills. So now you have to make an adjustment. And then it's the constant game of adjustments.
How cool is that, man?
And that's what happens. And it's like the bunt. So like the bunt used to be valuable.
Yeah.
And that same thing. Bunt him over to second, a single scores.
Yeah.
Well, now they have numbers and computers do all this aggregating for them. They've realized that a runner on first with 0 outs scores 46% of the time, and a runner on second with 1 out scores like 41% of the time.
Wow.
So a little less.
Yeah.
So you realize that you have a better chance of him scoring from first without bunting, when they didn't have those numbers in the past. It was all up here.
Okay, so then, in my opinion, that's bad for the game.
It's bad to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm less interested in.
It's a lot of swing and miss.
Swing and miss.
I want to see guys run around. I want to see guys chase
a bunt
in the outfield.
I want to see a guy steal second. I want to see a tag. Of course, that doesn't play in as much, but that's what I love about baseball. Sure. And you're telling me generally that the trend is going away from that.
And it'll rebound.
Sure. So what does the designated hitter have to do with that, you think? I mean, you think taking away the designated hitter now puts a guy in there that's got to swing and get on base as opposed to designated hitter swinging for the fence?
Well, the problem is, so if you have a designated hitter, you can put whoever you want in that spot. If you don't, that's the pitcher. You don't get to put anyone.
That's my point. I don't think I'd rather have the pitcher because it's a player on the field.
Right. So now, but think about it in comparison. Now they're throwing 99 miles per hour. So like back in the day, like the best athlete, Bob Gibson, he was still a pretty good hitter. Now they become so specialized in so many things that these pitchers have almost 0 chance of getting a hit.
Well, it's almost like, so the pitcher is now the kicker. I mean, yeah, he's on the field. He's a very vital asset, and they'll win the game. And you got to have a skill, but you ain't hitting anybody.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, so a pitcher is now becoming, he's the very, very vital part of the game, and he'll win it. But
that's kind of where they realize, like, why do we still let pitchers hit?
Yeah.
Now it's becoming there's injury concerns. Obviously, a guy's throwing 99, it hits your pitcher in the back.
Yeah. And
now he's hurt. That's a problem. But also,
I think I stick with the purist. I think I'm a pitcher. I'm a no DH.
Oh, I'm a no DH guy,
really?
Personally. Yeah, because it's the strategy that's created. The whole reason I love my two favorite sports, fighting and baseball.
Yeah.
And both of them have a common occurrence. It's high-stakes chess. That's what you're playing. And fighting, you're playing really high-stakes chess.
Yeah.
You're playing one shot away from being out cold chess.
Yeah.
And baseball, you're playing back-and-forth chess, but the stakes aren't as high. But it is winning and losing is being the determinant of a lot of minor adjustments, a lot of counteracting the other person.
Yeah.
And so because there's so much strategy and that I personally appreciate, I think that's why I like the DH, because the DH now creates the manager to think, do I let the pitcher hit here? Do I bunt him over? Do I do things? Whereas a DH, you're like, please go swing away, do your thing. There's just less thought.
Yeah, and like so I've concluded that DH is not good for the game, and you've proved it to me by saying it's a swing, it's a home run, strikeout, or walk.
Yeah, 3 true outcomes.
The 3 true outcomes, and the DH is a promoter of that.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I think I like the time that they put to speed up the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Except for I think it's almost guaranteed that's how long it's going to be. The guys are going to take that full time that they need. I kind of like that pitcher that would come out, pitch, get the ball back, ready to go again, pitch.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two obstacles that baseball as a whole faces going forward. One, they're bad at media exposure. They don't do well promoting their athletes. They don't do well getting highlights out there. And I think that's an agreement with BAM. So, like, if you watch the NBA, you go on Twitter and you type in Luka Doncic, you'll see highlight galore from Tommy Boy 42 can post Luka Doncic highlights.
Wow.
But legally, the NBA owns the content, right? So they could tell them to take it off.
Yeah.
So, but NBA doesn't. If you're the MLB does. The MLB, if you go post a home run of Mike Trout, like if Mike Trout hits a home run and you post it, it'll be down in less than 3 minutes.
No way.
Less than 3 minutes. Basketball, they promote it because they see that as somebody else doing the marketing for them.
That allows exactly free marketing, and so if the 3 true outcomes continues to happen, the steal highlight, the running,
less highlights.
the turning a double into a triple highlight.
Yeah. So that was my next. So they have a marketing problem.
Yeah.
And they have a time of game / pace of play problem.
Yeah.
And that people have always perceived baseball anyways as a slow moving game. It's a timeless game. There's no time, right? You got to get 27
timeless
outs,
game.
however long that takes.
Love it.
It's 27 outs. So basketball, you can run down the clock at the end. You can make the game kind of speed up in ways.
Yeah.
Baseball, it's 20. Like, you got to get them.
Well, in basketball, you're playing a certain amount of time,
and
the game's over. You can't extend it. You only have a certain amount of timeouts, right? So it's going to be over.
Yeah. So I think baseball kind of built up this perception, and it was like that because it was a social event. Like it's America's. I mean, it's America's pastime. It doesn't get that nickname for no reason, and that's because people were going to these games as a lot of times social events. They didn't care how long it took. They didn't.
The talking game.
They weren't. Yeah, it was. They didn't care about how long the pitcher took to get out there because this was our entertainment. Well, now as a society, partially because of our phones, partially just because we can now involve ourselves in so many different activities. We want things fast.
Yep.
On my time. I don't want downtime.
It keeps you engaged the whole 2.5, 3 hours you're watching a game.
Right.
Not watching a batter take 5 practice swings, check his gloves,
and I think
tap
part of it
his shoes.
is too, like now between innings, we play at the Airhogs minor league those fun games, and we try to create those, that little atmosphere. The reality is a lot of people just go like this.
Right.
Look at their phone in between innings.
Right. So between the inning, you actually have something that engages them, which whether they watch their phone or not, you're doing your part. Well, when a guy takes a swing, backs out of the box, checks his gloves, takes 3 or 4 practice swings, checks his feet, steps 1 foot in, steps the other foot in,
readjusts his back gloves 5 times.
Yeah. You got nothing to fill in.
And then the pitcher throws. Ball 1.
Yeah.
Steps out and does it all
Start
again.
over. And so you got 15, 20 seconds between each pitch.
It's nothing.
That's brutal.
Yeah, and that's where you hear those sound clips, that's where Charge came from.
Okay.
That sound. That was just to fill some of that downtime.
I do enjoy typically from past, some of the best conversations I've had was sitting and watching a baseball game.
It's a great casual game.
Good friend, out on a date with a girl, whatever it was. And that's the fun part. But except now, when I go, I want to keep score.
Right.
I'm pulling a piece of paper off a magazine.
Be cool like date idea. Let me teach you how to score.
Well, how to score, right?
Exactly.
No.
Interesting though, huh? The scoring aspect of it, the numbers of the positions.
So much fun, man. I mean, and then sometimes I'm like, wait, how do I score that? I mean, here's this, but here's that, and I got to pull out my phone and
figure out. It can get tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
We have an official score. Interesting. We have an official scorer for the team.
Okay.
That can't actually work for the team. He works for the league.
Oh, really?
Technically, but we hire him, and our coaches and the other coaches. Nobody gets more flack at the stadium than the scorekeeper.
Really?
They're like, that was a hit. That was an error. That was.
Of course, after, right?
Of course, yeah. They can't do it during,
and somebody in the dugout's probably keeping score too, right? I know that they used to do that. Like when I went to high school, my friends that played,
yeah,
they would.
I don't think they do it as much in the dugout because they know we have an official score.
Yeah. They can go back and look.
Yeah, and they do, and they get. And I think when it's like you want to be empathetic to the situation, right? Because if they complain every day all the time, like you're just a complainer. But at the same time, this is their livelihood. Like that error, if you have 5 errors instead of 3 errors, because a lot of times it's just a numbers game. Like that scout comes to the game, he pulls out the catalog, 5 errors, probably not my guy.
Hey, so the MLB, obviously their stats and detail, they got the resources and time to fill in that. Is that available? Is that as rampant in the minor leagues, or is it a little bit more pure?
It's becoming. So like the MLB has gone to this program called TrackMan.
Yeah.
And it literally does as it says. It tracks men. So what basically it's like 250 or 300 cameras that they install in the stadium to track just players, like how fast they're running, and it's live. Like they can literally see how fast the guys, how far.
Insane.
If you watch like in the World Series, a good example, when a guy's taking a lead, it'll say 8 feet, and then it'll take a step, and it'll say 9 feet.
Wow.
And it'll take a step back, and it'll go 8 feet. Well, that's these cameras. That's these cameras who are tracking every single movement. Like it's crazy. They start tracking the spin rate on the baseball. Think about that.
Yeah.
They track how many times the ball turns over from the pitcher's hand to the catcher at 99 miles an hour.
I'm over here learning how to take a still video and put it onto a editing program and make it not look stupid.
Ridiculous.
And these guys are telling me how many times the ball's spinning.
Turning over, and that's 60 feet 6 inches.
Pretty much live, right?
Yeah, to the second. And so but this is very expensive technology, as you can imagine, right? So
plus, I imagine the turnover in the independent league makes it even tougher,
harder,
to develop any type of book on anybody.
Yeah, and so like, but now the MLB, now that they have all this data, they're becoming relying on it. They're cutting their scouting staff. Like the Astros cut their scouting staff to almost nothing. They don't need them. Like the data is going to tell me everything, right?
Yeah.
So now, from teams like our league, the Atlantic League, which is another independent league, and a lot of the minor league systems, they're wanting these data on these guys. So the MLB, in a lot of cases, is forking up the dollars so that they can get the data.
Yeah.
So it's becoming more accessible to.
It's worth them investing in the lower leagues, so they'll have it.
Because think about all the money. So what used to happen? Let's say, let's use James Paxton. He's a good example. Pitcher for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Former Airhog. So he played for the Airhogs, and when he was playing, he's 6'5", lefty, throwing 97. That's all you know. Probably should go send a guy out there to go check that out. All right?
Yeah.
So you buy him a plane ticket, you get him a hotel, he goes out there for 3 days, he only gets to watch him pitch once.
Yeah.
He takes a few notes, he throws this hard, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, hey, just send me the data.
Yeah, that's it. Click here.
I'm not sending the guy out there for that. And now, to that point, they go data first. If your data numbers are good, then they send the guy out now. Right before it used to be send the guy out.
Yeah.
We'll figure out if he's good or not. Now it's reversed.
So it's y'all's data then, or is it the data that they invested?
We don't have it at our stadium yet, but as it goes around, I'm not exactly sure what the arrangements are, but I'm going to assume
that's a growth. That's
I'm going to
something.
assume the MLB.
So man, if you want some pure baseball, not hindered by the three outcomes: strikeout, home run, or walk. Go out to Airhog Stadium this year
for sure. We in our league, just in general, and our coach is a kind of a small ball coach. He's a little traditional, former major leaguer. Kind of grew up in that era where they played a little small ball.
Yeah.
In our league, just in general, we don't hit as many home runs. Like, we don't have the same level of athlete. That
pulling a ball.
We don't have a Joey Gallo, 6'5", dude looks like he was created in a video game.
Yeah.
We have just a lot of normal ball players. I mean, good ball players, but they're kind of your guys that some may touch the major league, some may. Yeah.
Well, I've gone the last couple of years, and at least one game I kept score.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely be doing that again this year.
For sure.
I look forward to it.
Nate, I can probably get you up there with my official score and be a nice little hangout session.
Absolutely. That'd be fun, because that way you're kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
If nothing else, I'd like to go meet them. Thanks for coming out, man.
100%.
Consider doing this again. Sounds like if we touch on baseball strategy, we can go for hours.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's part of the fun.
It's a great game. It's a great game. Like I said, and I think the thing, I'll end on this. The thing about baseball is that it's so much knowledge to know to really enjoy the game. Like, baseline's simple. The guy's pitching, this guy's trying to hit, we're trying to move runners around. But when you start to understand the nuances of why we're throwing certain pitches, and like, this guy can really hit a curveball.
Yeah.
So we're not going to throw him a curveball. And when you start looking at it, that's all in data. That's all in books. Like,
yeah, and if that pitcher is good at curveball, he's got to not throw the curveball, which isn't his best pitch, and so that almost equals each other out.
And the nuances of the game, and then. Yeah, it's a lot.
TexasAirhogsBaseball.com.
TexasAirhogsBaseball.com.
Season starts May 19th.
Yep. I'm pretty accessible myself. I mean, you can email me in Gutierrez at TexasAirhogs.com.
What's a GA ticket cost?
$8.
$8 ticket. Every night, almost every night, you've got some type of fun program going on.
Got a lot of fun promos coming up this year. I mean, we have the kind of standard Star Wars night, Disney night. Then we're doing a couple fun ones. We're doing Christmas in July with
very cool.
With a pediatric hospital. We're gonna bring out a bunch of kids. It's gonna be a really good night.
And if you don't like the Texas heat, Nate will hook you up with a suite, couple more dollars, but get to sit in the air conditioning and
if you're nice to Cole, he even might be able to hook you up.
Yeah, right. Nate, appreciate you coming on, man.
No problem, man.
See ya.